Hello, good evening. This is Philip Cargon. This is Tea with the Druid that you're watching, brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. It's lovely to see everybody arriving in the forest clearing for our session together. I hope you've had a good week, and I can see people arriving from Portugal, Virginia, Wyoming, Glastonbury, Windy Pender Island, southern Lincolnshire, the Netherlands, Manchester, Idaho, Australia, Kent, Southern California, New Zealand, hooray! Puckerow Bay, I love Puckerow Bay, I know that. Southern Germany, Glastonbury, more in Glastonbury, Switzerland, Dorset, Scotland, Durham, Italy, Bulgaria, hooray! Dreary London, you poor thing. Brisbane, New Hampshire, Southern Germany, West Cornwall, Finchley. Okay, lovely. Great to see everybody. Lovely. Do make yourselves comfortable. While I offer my abject apologies, the Jain tradition, which I love enormously, it's a wonderful Dharmic tradition that I've studied for years and love very deeply, and they have a tradition in the Jain tradition which is called Pratik Raman, which is a day every year where you send cards to everybody you know, and the card says, "If I have offended you, knowingly or unknowingly, please accept my full apologies. I mean you only well." And I think there's a great sort of blanket apology to everybody. So if you've sort of hurt somebody by mistake, then, anyway. So I'd like to do that for our next guest, our guest who's about to appear, Rebecca Beatty. I foolishly spelt her name with a Y. And even as I did it, you know the way sometimes you can do something and somewhere way back in your mind says to you, no, you got that wrong. But you stupidly ignore it because you're in a hurry or you're ploughing on with the work that you've set yourself. And no sooner had I pressed all the buttons than I realized that that Rebecca's name is Beatty, Beattie. I managed to change it on YouTube, but not on all the other channels. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Rebecca. But she has forgiven me. I thought she might not turn up. I thought, oh, she probably won't even show up. But no, she has actually turned up, and which is lovely. And I'm going to welcome her on without further ado. Rebecca, hello. I have to unmute you. Hang on. Take your mic off.
There we go.
Would you mind terribly moving?
Moving that way.
That way. That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's absolutely perfect.
Move my camera along a little bit, and then
we can do. I never know whether that looks better or that looks better.
Either way.
It looks a bit passport photo-y like this, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little.
Yeah, but something more.
That's good.
Yeah, let's say like that. Okay.
I was just going to say to you that if of all the ways that you could be insulting me by getting my surname wrong,
yes,
that's the least of the ones I've had over the years. It's ranged from beetle to beetroot at various times.
I remember at the height of the IRA bombings in London, when the cars were blowing up all the time, I decided to join the AA for the first time, and I got my membership card, and they typed my name as Car Bomb. Anyway, so I know what it's like, but my sincere apologies. And Rebecca, I came across your work when I read your book on the Eightfold Wheel of the Year, which is just lovely. Last year I was spending a lot of time looking at the Eightfold Wheel of the Year again, in order to work on a book that's coming out in June with the artist's Jamie Reed's images. And I was diving into, and in the OBOD store, we have a number of books on the Eightfold Wheel of the Year that we recommend to students of the OBOD course. And I have to say, I think, what have I done? Oh,
you closed the link.
I posted the wrong thing into. Sorry, I was trying to post a link to everybody of your book. and I got it wrong. There we go. That should be. Oh no, you've got it. It's come in already. Sorry. Okay, so so that's the book which you can see there, and what I really liked about it is some books. There's some books that are out recently which give a very personal view. It's like, you know, one woman's journey through the wheel or so on. Then there are the books that collate a lot of sort of folklore and information, which have their value, and they both have their places. The kind of personal testimony, I think, has its place. But then there are books that collate, you know, stuff from mythology and, you know, folklore. But you managed to steer a wonderful course, bringing some of both of those things, but really adding to, so that even somebody who's been working with the Eightfold Wheel of the Year for decades, still, you know, as I can still benefit from it. But you haven't stopped there. You've carried on.
I have carried on, yes.
And you've got another book coming out.
Yeah, I keep getting people saying, how can you have another one coming out this soon? But I am obviously a sucker for punishment when it comes to writing. But yes, I've got another book coming out on the 18th of April, which is called The Way Through the Woods, quite aptly for being in a Druid space.
Yes, because you could say Druidry offers us a way through the woods, or way into the woods. Certainly, yes. Tell us a little bit about it. What's it about?
So it's about generally it's about life changes and how we navigate them using the pagan worldview. So it's I try and describe it as being using nature as our map and our guide and our compass when we're experiencing life changes. One of the things I found, having experienced some big changes of my own, so I had I had a big grief that I encountered when I was 30, where I lost my mum. And one of the things I found, although my spiritual life was there as a kind of comforter, there weren't at that time, and this is going back a good 20 years, so that I know there've been other books written since, but at that time there weren't that many books that were there to kind of help us navigate the life changes. You know, most of our books were about Wheel of the Year and other practices, but not much about the kind of wider part. So I've kind of written this book, which is it's obviously got a theme around working with nature, so it follows on from the Wheel of the Year, but it's kind of taking a variety of different life changes and how you might be encountering them, how you might navigate them. So I look at things like bereavement and divorce, and then moving into the sort of more cheerful things like new relationships and relocation, and, you know, making big moves in your life. So to try and help get that in place.
Isn't that interesting? Because in a way, it only just occurs to me as you're speaking, but in a way, one of the things I think we're seeking in following a spiritual way is stability.
Yes.
The world can be so scary and so upsetting and so changeable, and creating such anxiety and insecurity and all the rest of it, that we seek, you know, stability, and spirituality can provide that. But because of the nature of life, we're constantly being challenged, and things change, whether we want them to or not. And actually, in the pagan Wheel of the Year, we celebrate the change that's all around us, and in a way, that's a very interesting relationship, isn't it? Working out how we can relate to change and transformation in a way that, because you said to me that when you lost your mum, that was the time when you also became initiated into sorry, somebody's just asking about your name, saying I've just come late and I don't know who you. It's Rebecca Beatty, which her name is on the screen, isn't it? It should be on your screen. Maybe if you're watching this on Instagram, you might not see the screen. Maybe the name doesn't come up or something like that. Rebecca Beatty. And there's also somebody asking about the AA, wondering whether I joined Alcoholics Anonymous or the Automobile Association. It was the Automobile Association.
Yes.
And that's why the card and the car bomb was so sort of strange. Back to your story.
Yes.
You were initiated. Talk about that, because it's a very interesting relation.
It was, timing wise, it was quite uncanny, and I think I'm guessing, I haven't followed the Druid path, but I'm guessing we have some similarities in that. One of the things that I've just spent a whole weekend with a group of witches, and one of the things we were talking about was how every time you go through an initiation or an elevation of degree, one of the things that we all notice is that absolute hell breaks loose in your personal life. It's almost as if the whole process, once you've committed to making a change, the relationship with the tradition, with your gods, or however you frame your spiritual life, because I know not everybody looks at divinity in the same way that I do, but we have these punctuation points where we've had significant life changes that have all sort of centered around an initiatory tradition in my context. So my first degree initiation into a coven, which is something I always swore I'd never do, but that's another story, it was something that happened in my late 20s. I'd encountered my Saturn return. If for those of you that are lovers of astrology and planetary magic, I'd encountered Saturn returning at the point where my mother died, and that was a really big trauma because it was just a really big trauma. She sort of died very suddenly, and she was a very significant part of my life. And then, so I had this process of getting over this grief, or trying to, not really getting over it, because I don't think it's something you ever get over. I think it's something you learn to live with, and you learn to navigate life with it as a companion, really. And that all coincided with first degree initiation, Saturn return, and this grief. And then actually other big life changes that I experienced also coincided with those initiatory points as well. So things like I got divorced when I reached third degree. So it was, it was kind of like these big things happening in your life. When we come into the Wiccan tradition, one of the questions you're asked is, art thou willing to suffer to learn? And it sounds like a really mean, awful question, and why would anyone want to do that? But I think there's a thing, isn't there, that when you're on a path that's all about going deeper into your own experience and learning more about yourself and your traditions and how you relate to the world and how you encounter other people, and all of that comes with this often with the sense that sometimes our greatest lessons are our biggest traumas as well.
There's something about I've forgotten how somebody like Jean Houston, I think, put it about in terms of how your life, those life changes, when the story that you're living through isn't big enough for you. The way we can restrict our lives. I mean, divorce is a classic example where we find ourselves sort of trapped in a story that no longer suits us or no longer sort of fits us. And then to get out of the story is often very painful, because it requires some kind of rupture, so it can feel very destructive and unpleasant and painful and all the rest of it. And of course, an initiation is opening us to a bigger story. That's part of its function, isn't it? It's to open our horizons and to sort of help us move, to be born into a new phase of our lives. And then it's almost like the echo of that, or aspect of that, might be occurring in the physical world as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
And I know that sometimes when people go into the ovate grade, there's a way in which the bardic grade in many ways has a sort of settling, integrating, orienting kind of quality to it. that helps people to really start to feel at home in the world and at home in their lives and at home with nature and so on, like that. And then once that stability has been achieved, if the story needs to get bigger and something has to crack out, then people start to go through difficult experiences. Some, not all.
Happens, yeah, and that also happens at second degree in initiatory Wicca as well. That,
yeah,
you know, the first degree initiation was very much okay, I need a settling in point now. This is the new life at first degree.
Yeah.
And then yes, second degree, I was aware. People said to me before I did it, once you make a commitment to making that change, it will go through, it'll ripple right through everything. So
yes.
Don't be surprised if you have things happen that you weren't expecting.
Yes.
That's terrifying. But
yes.
It was also a good thing. It was also a good thing. And the big changes that happened were absolutely necessary. So, you know,
to take an example from a completely different area, but I was watching the other night a documentary on Netflix on the Bee Gees, and Robin Gibb's wife is the patroness of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. So there's a lovely connection. So, you know, while Robin was alive, we knew him and so on. And what I hadn't realized, the funny little historical detail, I don't know if you ever heard of the anti-disco movement that happened. So they you know, they came out with Saturday Night Fever and were huge and all the rest of it, you know, massive, and other bands and people as well. And then this strange event occurred in a stadium where a demonstration, an anti-disco demonstration was made, and people threw all their records. And there are suggestions that it was fueled by sort of white nationalism. It was sort of racist because, you know, lots of the musicians were black or whatever. And it really turned nasty. And the Bee Gees were very shocked, and that the radio station stopped playing disco. There was this extraordinary reaction to it. But out of that, because they felt they had to lie low, they started writing songs for other people. And, you know, they had this extraordinary career of writing very famous songs for very famous people as a result. And they might not have made that shift if they hadn't been sort of forced to, in a way, or they hadn't, you know, their story hadn't suddenly changed, you know. So so one of the things that we were talking about before we went on air was how Wicca and Druidry are so close. There's this interesting family kinship feeling about. So say more about that.
Well, I think, I mean, for my, and I'm not saying this to flatter you, but my tarot of choice is the Druidcraft deck. Because for me, that it speaks the language I understand. Often, you know, when you're working with different systems and systems of mythology in particular, it's really important to have something that we all understand. And I think the bit that I love about working with the Wheel of the Year and working with Wicca is how close it often is to the Druid path as well. There's so many similarities. I think one of the biggest lessons I had very early on was from somebody I was very close to in the craft, also is a Druid and has, you know, is an active member of a grove. And, you know, I was staying at his house one night and he had a witches circle on the Saturday night, and then Sunday afternoon it was time for the Druids to come in. And it was, you know, it's such a lovely way that we have this Wheel of the Year at the heart of our practices that was created by both groups of people. It's, you know, you can't claim that one created it over the other. And we may call the festival slightly different things sometimes, but it's still that intrinsically, you know, built into our mythology and to the world of nature and the language of nature. And really, for me, I think it's that sense, isn't it, that we're all walking this natural path. We're all bringing nature into our spirituality and bringing creativity into our spirituality, which is the other thing that's quite close to my heart, is that I always say that you can't have I can't have my own creativity without a spiritual life backing it up. It's two sides of the same coin to me. So it's you know,
And
I
sorry, just to catch that little one as well. You know, the strong stress on creativity and Druidry with this concept of the Arwen, you know, and this flow and orator.
exactly.
But there's a lovely piece in the documentary on the Bee Gees where they're talking about how they wrote the songs, and I've forgotten who. I think it was Barry Gibb saying. He's saying, well, we didn't really write them. I mean, he said it was like they were just there and we just caught them. We just caught them as flying by, and because they used to write them in the recording studio, sort of on the hoof, playing around and playing music, and would catch the Arwen and produce the songs, you know. So and as you say, Wicca's involved in it. And one of the ideas we came up with was the idea that they're like cousins. If you have a good relationship with your cousin, it's a very interesting relationship because they can be very different to you. They can have very different lives, sometimes in different countries, and you know. And yet, when you're with them, there's this extraordinary bond that's really hard to, you know, you can say, well, it's family, or you know, you have a shared history or DNA or something like that. But it's a lovely. I think I like when I'm with my cousins, I like to sort of tune in to the feeling without putting a label on it or rationalizing about it, but just enjoying this feeling of closeness and commonality. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And
One of my dearest friends, her husband has just started on the Druid path maybe a year ago, and you know, I've known him for you know 20, nearly 30 years, and in all of that time we've both been seeking, you know, whatever it was that we were looking for, and it's so nice and reassuring that he's finally found a corner of the spiritual woods that work for him. And it's so interesting when we talk about, oh yeah, we call that this bit, oh no, well, you know, that's what we call it. So there are so many similarities in terms of mythology and the way it's you know, what the way that we're constructed in a way.
Absolutely. It is, isn't it? It's lovely. So I would really strongly recommend your Eightfold Wheel of the Year book to everybody, but also your new book, which I haven't had a chance to read yet because it's yes, do show it. Yes, because I'm not in England, so my copy is in England. Yeah,
it's on the right way around, and I've got my little post-it notes telling me where I need to when I'm working with it, because I always like to have my own copy that I make notes on and
yes,
using things as well.
Great. Well, I look forward to reading it, and I think it's great that you've been sort of courageous enough to talk about your own, you know, your own sadnesses really around you know, bereavement and divorce and so on. And but this is something that we, you know, we all go through these difficult experiences, and
there's something about sharing the vulnerabilities, aren't there? That you know, I think it's often we feel that we have to present this front of social media glossiness,
yes,
and it's not very helpful, is it? It's not very helpful.
Exactly. Or you know, for me, when I was younger, before the internet, really, there was, if you involved in spirituality, there was you know, the figure in that, if you followed the Western tradition, there was the adept. And the adept was this highly competent, highly advanced being.
Makes me shudder at the thought, because I'm
And
just
there was some wonderful books about an adept. Oh, we're getting some funny feedback about a chap called Morwood Haig. I've forgotten who wrote the books, but he used to chain smoke. And the reason in the book for why he had to smoke was he had to lower his vibrations because he was so advanced. I mean, some extraordinary rationalization. Presumably the author enjoyed a cigarette. And so this was the rationalization, that I use it to lower my vibration so I can function with you mere mortals. Extraordinary sort of gymnastics people would get around to explaining, rationalizing their faults. And it's lovely that we've moved into that era of not feeling we have to be that we can be open, I think. And I think more and more people get that, really.
Yeah.
So could you, in Tea with a Druid,
Mm-hmm.
it's a short session. It's only about half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a meditation in it. And you very kindly said you would guide us on one. So the stage is yours, Rebecca.
Lovely.
And if I knew how to get myself out of the way, I would, but I'm not. I'm worried that if I click remove, I might disappear. Maybe if I do this solo, I think I can do it. So over to you,
Okay.
and then I'll come back at the end. Yeah.
Lovely. Sounds perfect.
There we go.
There we go. So I'm going to invite you all to join me in a guided path working through the woods, because that feels like an apt place to be going together this evening. So if you're wherever you are, just have a moment to fidget about and make yourselves comfortable. And if you could place your feet on the ground, if possible, and just for the first few moments, we're going to focus on our breath together. And I would ask you to begin by taking a long, slow, deep breath in. And holding that breath for a moment. And then slowly exhaling, allowing any of the tension of the day just to melt away as you just focus on each breath as it goes into your lungs, thinking about those lovely oxygen molecules passing through your body, and exhaling, perhaps emptying your lungs completely on the out breath. Taking another deep breath in, holding it for just a moment, and then letting it go. And each time you breathe in, falling deeper into your center, letting your breath find its natural rhythm, feeling the air filling your lungs, bringing deep feelings of peace and relaxation to each part of your body. And soon, very soon, perhaps noticing your eyelids becoming heavy, and they become so heavy that you can barely keep them open. Just allowing those muscles around the eyes, around the outer corners, just allowing them to relax. And dropping down right into a lovely, warm, comfortable feeling. Bringing your awareness to the top of your head, sensing or imagining a feeling of deep relaxation spreading down from the top of your scalp, allowing all those muscles in your forehead and your temples to relax. And the peaceful feeling flowing down through your neck, deep into the muscles of your shoulders, soothing them, relaxing them, just breathing at a natural pace. That's right. And allowing that peaceful feeling to flow down through your arms, relaxing and soothing you all the way to the tips of your fingers. And as your body relaxes, your mind relaxes, and your thoughts become weightless like wisps of cloud on the breeze, allowing that peaceful feeling to flow down your back, through to your lower body, down through your knees, into your calves, and to your feet, so that your entire body is soft, calm, and relaxed. And now we're going to leave the external world behind and go on an inner journey. Imagine, if you would, that you're standing on the edge of a woodland. It's early in the morning, but already the sun is high in the sky. The air is warm. You're feeling content, at ease, and relaxed. You can see the glow of the sunlight glimmering on the leaves of the trees. And there's a breeze that's making the leaves murmur as they dance in the breeze. You can feel it caress your face. This woodland is deserted. You have it all to yourself, and you have all the time in the world. As you listen to the relaxing sound of the breeze in the leaves above you, tinkling like 1,000 tiny wind chimes. You can hear the birds singing. It's the sounds of nature without interruption. And ahead of you, you can hear the sound of a river flowing, gently gurgling its way through the trees. You're standing on a path that's leading you deeper into the woods. So you follow that path, feeling safe, relaxed, and at home. As you walk along the path, you start to notice some of the plants that are growing there. And the trees themselves. Are they deciduous? Are they evergreens? You can decide for yourself, because this is your woodland and it can be whatever you need it to be. You keep walking through and you come to the stream. It's gurgling its way under a natural bridge that cuts across the path, leading you deeper into the woodlands. So you decide to follow the stream, the silver pathway that meanders deeper into the woodland. It leads you on to a deep pool, a pool that's ringed 3 times about to keep the spells in. One with a ring of trees that dip their branches gently into the water. Once with a bank of tall bulrushes sighing gently in the breeze. And once with a ring of water lilies that open their white blooms to the sun above. You stop for a moment, just watching the reflections in the water, watching the surface rippling gently. The earth beneath your feet is soft, firm and smooth, and the air is filled with the scent of green. In this place, you're free of all memories of the past, free of all concerns about the future, and free of all responsibility. You're perfectly safe. People have been treading this path for hundreds of thousands of years, and you feel as if you've come home. It's a place of total peace, and it's all yours. You notice up ahead There's a significant tree that's calling to you. Something about it attracts your attention, and you begin to walk towards it. As you notice when you approach it, the sounds have stilled around the tree. They've become quieter. Allow yourself for just a moment to take in the detail of how beautiful the tree is. Perhaps its tall limbs are covered over in moss. Place your hand against the bark. Is it smooth and soft or deeply ridged? Does it have wide leaves or narrow ones? Does it have berries or blossom? Placing your forehead against the bark, you feel the tree begin to draw all of your concerns and your worries away, drawing them deep into its heartwood, relieving you of your concerns, allowing you just to breathe deeply and feel more and more relaxed. Give me your concerns, your cares, the tree seems to say to you. Let me carry them for you so that you can rest. And as the last of your cares drains into the heart of the tree, you notice that there's a hollow at its base where you can be cushioned in amongst its roots. Rest yourself for a while at its feet, with your spine against its strong trunk. Ask the tree now to lend you some of its strength. Feel the sensation of the tree refilling your energy levels, enabling you to feel refreshed and renewed. As you sit with your back against the trunk of your tree, you can ask it to share one more piece of wisdom with you. What wisdom do they want to show you? Your mind seems to expand and you feel timeless, vast, relaxed. And for the next moment or so, enjoy that experience of oneness with the tree. If thoughts arise, simply let them go and return your awareness to the tree's world. Ask it to share that one piece of wisdom with you that you can bring back into the world. It's time to return to the other world. But remember, the sacred grove and your special tree is there for you to return to whenever you need to. When you're ready, holding the gift of wisdom to your heart, begin to focus on your breath once more. You're deeply refreshed, and now it's time to make your way back home, bidding your tree companion farewell. Leave the grove behind you, following the path back through the woods, noticing how light your body feels, how clear you are, full of the strength and courage of the tree. And as your foot touches the firm ground of the woodland, the breeze returns and the trees begin to sway again. As you step back to the edge of the wood, arriving back at the woodland pool, the sun has moved across the sky and it's time to return. Your journey back is effortless and calm, like all of the moments in your life. Taking a deep breath in, stepping back into your body, And another deep breath in, slowly becoming aware of the room in which you sit. And with another deep breath in, wiggling your toes and your fingers. And when you're ready, opening your eyes and coming back into the room. I think we need you to unmute, Philip.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you, Rebecca. That I was so deep in the meditation. The practical business of pressing a button was a step too far for me. Thank you so much. That was absolutely lovely and very deep and beautiful. And then some lovely comments coming in of people having enjoyed it very much. Yes. So thank you so much for coming on, Rebecca.
It's been lovely to be here.
Stay here when we say goodbye to everybody, because then we can have a chat afterwards. But thank you, everybody, for being with us for another Tea with a Druid. It's been lovely to have you. And have a lovely week. And I hope that the inspiration and peace and calm and connection that you experienced in that meditation with Rebecca stays with you and is helpful to you in the days to come. So many blessings. Thank you, Rebecca. And just remind us, I saw some people asking, because we mentioned several books. There's the book about the Old Wheel of the Year that's in the Obo shop currently, and then the new one handed up. Hold it, that's the Wheel of the Year one. And then the other one,
copy, and then the new one is called The Way Through the Woods.
The Way Through the Woods. That's right. That's coming out in about a month's time, but you can probably pre-order it.
It's up for pre-order.
Yes, and lovely.
I have high hopes of it having a nice glittery cover as well.
Great, good. Okay, well, look, bless you. Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody. You have a really lovely week. Lots of love, many blessings, and see you all next week.